Hey everyone. Yes, it is Desiree and welcome. I am so glad that you are here in our community where I'm just going to show you all kinds of different techniques involving paper. It could be a card, it could be a technique to create a card, it could be watercolors, it could be acrylic paints, you name it. Anything that can go onto our card fronts or anything like that, that's what's going to be shown here. So, for those of you that are already here, thank you so much and welcome. This is our first video. What I'm going to show you today is messy watercolor. Some call it abstract watercolor. I have been very much inspired by other creators on YouTube doing this form of creative expression. And I think it is perfect for a card front, a journal front, whatever it is that you want to use it, or maybe you just have a sketchbook that you want to play with. And now in our paid community, we're actually going to build and construct our own type of watercolor mixed media sketchbook. So let's talk about the supplies that I'm going to use first. And please know, any supplies that I'm using, you don't need to have those supplies. You can use anything that you already have that is close to this item that we're using that will give you the same effect. Or maybe you have something different and you want to see what type of effect it gives you. I very much encourage that. All right, so that is first and foremost. Let's dig into our stashes. And I'm having fun doing that. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to need is, of course, a paintbrush. I'm going to be using one of the Snap paintbrushes. It's a 12 round, again, whatever. I have a piece of paper towel. I like to blot off my brush when I'm doing my watercolors. Now, watercolors, you can use any set that you have. If you've got liquid watercolors, if you've got Crayolas, if you've got Prang, go for it. Just watercolor pencils, whatever you have. Now, I am going to focus on this style of watercolor. So while you could use a watercolor pencil, the technique is a little bit different. But never fear. Here in our community, we will be having fun with watercolor pencils in another tutorial. But these I'm going to use. So whether you have the tubes, the pans, or the liquid, that you will get similar effects. I also have a pot of water because we always need that. The paper that I'm going to be using today is my Canson XL watercolor. I love this watercolor paper. No, it's not 100% cotton, but for me, that is okay. I love when it blooms and those hard lines and all of that edginess that this gives. Will you get smoother blends and smoother looks with 100% water, with 100% cotton? Yes, but we're just here to play. But I love this. It's reasonably priced, and you can get great prices whenever you're looking for art supplies. I do encourage Dick Blick, Jerry's Artorama, but I know with Dick Blick, you can get one of these pads, which is 30 sheets, and I get the 9x12 gummed top, and it's like $8. It's awesome. Believe it or not, on Amazon, it's higher. It's almost double. So I think this is a great watercolor. color paper. If you have mixed media paper, you could use that. If you have Bristol, whether smooth or vellum, you can use that as well. You just want to make sure, since we are doing watercolors, that it is a substrate, a cardstock, or paper that will take on water. I do not recommend regular cardstock for this. I'm also going to be using some marking devices because we're just going to scribble. I have just a regular number 2 pencil. Yep. Could be any type of pencil because this is graphite. Now, if you've got graphite pencils, go for it. Use them. If you've got charcoal, great. You can use anything to do mark making. All right. I have a gold pen. It's a fine point. And it's a 0.7 milliliter. And it's by Pen Touch. Also going to be using a number 12 micron archival pen. So any archival pen would do. You can use other fine liners as well. You just want to make sure that your piece is completely dry, but if it bleeds, who cares? Archival means it just won't run. But with anything, even though it's archival, even though it says it's waterproof, you have to let it dry first if you're adding more water on top. But we won't be doing that. And I also have a white acrylic marker. This happens to be a Posca. If you have the Artex, if you have the Artezas, that is just fine as well. So whatever you have, these are the types of things that I'm going to be marking with. You could also simply just use a pencil and we can mark make with our watercolors. So keep that in mind too. Again, these lessons are not for me to enable you in any way, shape, or form, but I will tell you what I am using, why I'm using it, and what some great alternatives are to that. It is your decision if you want to make the purchase or not. But please know, not enforcing that. I don't want to enable anybody. I know how that feels and I fall into it. Yes. So with our papers, I do like to use these boards. All right, it's called a hard board. That's simply what it is. It is a hard board. I have them in different sizes. So you can see we're going to work on a full sheet, a 9 by 12. And then I also wanted to show you that they do come in smaller sizes. Now these I do get from Amazon. So here's a 6 by 8, and there you go. It says hardboard. And I've taped down. I took one sheet of the Canson XL and I quartered it. So I cut it at 4.5 and by 6. And I got 4 panels. So here I just used my blue tape. I get this from my hardware store. Not fancy blue tape, very low tack as well. And I just taped around the edges. This will give a border. All right. I also have another piece where I used the width of the blue tape to the edge of the paper, and then I just put more around the sides. That's going to give us a wider border on our piece for our card front. This one here I wanted to keep out. I taped it just like our first one that I showed, but you can also create designs with your tape. Now, if you want, you can cut these. I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut this in half. Watch your fingers. And I'm just going to go up. Now, no, it will stick onto your scissors. So sometimes, because I am impatient, I am fine if I just tear it. Just trying to be in the center, doesn't have to be exact. And what we can do is create a design with our blue tape. by just creating crisscrosses. And let's tear one more because I don't feel like fighting with my scissors. Just saying. So by tearing it, you get these great little tiny waves. You get these different looks. And on this one, I think I'm going to go this way. And then on this one, I think I'll go this way. So we're going to get some fun effects of this. Now, when I have the blue tape that's just hanging over, I just lift it up, fold over that edge so that it gets out of my way, or you can just fold it around your board. Just make sure it is making contact with your paper. So different ways to use the tape that you're using to your advantage to give you these beautiful borders. So I'm going to set these three aside real quick because we're going to focus on the large one. And now that we know all of the supplies, now I may throw some other things in, but these are the main supplies that I'm going to stick with. Let's have some fun. What I love with this watercolor, whether we call it abstract, whether we call it messy, I just use the term messy. I just love having the play on it. Now, when it comes to using our colors, we want to make sure that we're using colors that mix well together. All right, meaning blue, green, purple. The blue and the purple go well. Might have an issue when it comes to the purple and the green. When you take two colors that don't match up, you're going to get what we call mud. And it's a brown. You'll get this beautiful brown shade in most cases. But if you're not looking for that, you want to stay with like colors. So I think for this one, I'm going to go with a blue. And as I said, I'm going to use this same brush for all the pieces. I'm going to add water. Now what I do want to do is just spray my palette, get the watercolors activated. You could also do that with your pans, and you could also, you don't need to do that with liquid watercolors. That's already there. All right, so let's start with a light color. So of course I'm going to come in with this teal, and I'm just going to start putting shapes down. I do like to work in threes. So we'll have these areas where I'm putting 3 shades or 3 areas down. I'm going to go into this real pretty light green. And of course, I'm splashing up on here, and I'm okay. I'm going to overlap. In some cases, I like the scratchiness. Again, it's not something that we're looking to be exact. I am just getting color down, and I'm doing a wet onto dry. If this was wet, it would be a wet onto wet. All right, I think I like this color. I'm going to have this one come down. Since I'm not using a lot of water, you do want to make sure that, you know, you're moving quick. But you can see I'm just going to add some water here and get this to spread out. Get these colors to merge. Get them to bleed together. And just let them have fun. Add more water to some that's already down there. That'll real quick just get that reactivated just a little bit. But you can get these bleeds that are going through. I love letting the watercolors do what they're going to do. I'm going to add just a little bit of this darker shade. Letting that dance around. Here's an even darker one. Just putting that in, letting that go down. Trail. Again, just have fun. Don't think about it. I'm going to move these around just a little bit. White space is your friend. At least I think it is. You can use, I saw one creator, her name is Denise Love. I encourage you to check out her channel. She takes the back of her brush and starts doing this. I love this because you can see the colors are just going together. It's creating a mark, which I think is awesome. And here, we'll do that up here. So you can have fun just doing that. Getting these to move around. And you get these great interests coming over here. And like I said, we can also use our watercolors to add some marks. So if we just take our brush with a little bit of our paint and just tap down, you're creating those marks. Let them trail off. And since I did that here, I don't keep too much water on my brush. I want the full color. Here, I'm going to do it along this side as well. I love that it's bleeding. I love that it's moving. And it's just dancing on our page. We're getting this different look. The tip of that brush is just going in there. And you're probably wondering, okay, this piece is really large. What's she doing? What's she doing? This is another reason why I do like the boards. I can turn. Now, do you have to have these boards? Absolutely not. I forgot to let you know that, and here, I'm just going to add some marks here. You could actually, one of the things that I save, and I have multiple uses for it, are the backs of the Canson XL pads, or the Canson pads themselves. These are nice and thick. You could tape your pieces to these. These will last a while. So it's a nice thickness. You can also, I also keep these as chipboard for albums. They are great. Nice size. So I keep those and I use them often. So I like what this looks like here. And I think I'm going to let that dry. I want to finish up with our other types. Now, even though this is wet, you could still come across with the graphite, and we'll do that in our next one. So I'm going to set this aside so that it can dry. Let's move on to our next one. Let's work on this one where we have a wider border. Still going to use the same brush, but I'm going to go into a different color palette. I'm going to use this pinky shade Again, just taking this brush right off, letting it run out, bringing it right down. Let's look at a darker. And by this being still wet, it's going to bleed, which I love. Now, because we used red, we can come in with a darker blue. And let's see, where do I want this to go? I think I'm going to take this down here and just scribble just a little bit and still be sketchy down into there. Here, and here you just want to, just don't think. It's going to look like writing, but it's not writing. So here we're going to come in and we're just going to go up, go across, and then here I'm going to turn it and I'm going to go up again, come down, and I'm going to go down this way, and you get these awesome marks coming across. And even though it's wet, you can still do that. And again, it's just with your pencil. I love that. I love this hard line. Don't worry. These hard lines are awesome. White spaces are great as well. We're going to set this one aside now, and we're going to let that one dry. You can see how quick we can get through these. Here, we're going to come in, and we're going to do the same thing here. Let's do some browns. We can always use our natural shades. Let's see, how about this one? Oh, that looks nice. Cross over, go up, and by doing that, you're dragging that color with you. The beauty of this, there's just no thought, you know, none. We're just letting these colors go and having fun sketching. Now for this one, I am going to come in and I'm going to put a big circle up in here. And I'm going to take one and I'm going to bring it down here. And I'm going to take one and I'm going to put one here. And I'm crossing over with those. Now here, I'm going to come in, yes, with a dark indigo. And we're going to do some marks again. This is just going to be the line. And you can see it's getting lighter and lighter as we're coming out to the outside. I love that bleed that it gave me. And here we're just going to put some dots. In this section. And we'll just bring those up just a little bit. And we're going to go into that white space. So we got that. And I think I'm going to let that go as well. With marks that I want to put in those rings, I'm going to use my pen. So we're going to set that one aside. Now our fun one. Now here's the best part. Maybe you don't want to use a pen. Maybe you don't want to use the micron or an acrylic or anything like that. We can just use our watercolors and our pencil. So for this one, we're going to just have some fun. I'm going to come in with that pink. I'm going to load up my brush. And I'm going to get that in there. And then I want to add a little bit more color to that because I don't want that to be that dark. And let's come in with our green because this shade of green is awesome. Let's fill that in. And not sure. I don't think I wanted that one. Got that. Let's fill that in. So just having fun with our colors. And we're going to fill that in. And I'm going to fill this one in totally. Here we have a purple. And here's a darker purple. Remember, the more water you use with your watercolors, the lighter it will be. The more concentrated in color, the darker they will be. And let's go with this dark one down here. I love indigo. Indigo is awesome. Now, for this one, I've got a lot of water going on here. And what I want to do is I want to wait just a little bit. But before I do the next step, I do want to come in with my pencil and do that scribble. I call it scribble scrabble. There is a technical term for it, but that's mine. And and you are going to hit this here, but that's okay. Just go across and then you can come around. And it's okay if it lifts. You can lift up every once in a while. That's the fun of it. But always keep your pencil onto the side, and you don't want to have too much of a sharp point because then you get, you could dig into your paper, which is fine. These are starting to dry up. So what I'm going to do, we can use water, just our water that we have been using as a marker. Because if I just tap into this, it's going to start making the watercolor pull out. So we can do that with some of our pieces, just adding that water. And when it soaks in, you can see how it's just blooming. But you can't have that area soaked. It's got to dry back just a little bit. Now, this one here, I'm going to push. So I have a brush with less water, and I'm blotting it off on my paper towel here that I just threw. So taking out that water, and I'm able to just go across it. And I can get that effect if I'm looking for something different. I'm going to continue through though and just put blots in here. You can also use rubbing alcohol in some of your pieces. So water, best thing to absolutely, I'm just picking up some of this color here and just tapping it, because the brush will soak up the water that's sitting on your piece. And you can see I'm able to lift it. And that gives me differences as well, different looks. And this here, I'm just going to touch it right there and right there. So you can be precise where you put your water. So again, we've got this mosaic, but we're not completely done with this because the reveal comes when we pull these off. We're not going to do anything else to this. Watercolors, pencil, and you can get these effects, and water, and you get these different looks when it comes to that piece. So now I'm going to set this one aside. Let's go back now to our large one, and let's see where we're at with that. This is almost dry. This area here is still damp. So when we come back, that's going to be completely dry. And you also will know when your piece is dry because you saw how this was buckling, meaning warping with all of the water that we had. Once it's dry, it will go back down to the board. It will go back to being flat because we've taped it. We've taped that down. When we come back, we're going to do the markings on all of our pieces that we have and just add those little bit of touches, and we will get our card fronts together. And these are great for any occasion. I do not like to force dry these, meaning use a heat gun or a hair dryer or anything like that. I like these to just do what they're going to do on their own, because they're going to continue to move and blossom. And look at these beautiful blossoms in here and those hard lines. Love it. This down here. Love it. So when we come back, we will continue and get our cards done. All right, welcome back. Our papers are dry. We can see that they've gone back down to the board. That's the good sign. But you also, I like to take the back of my hand or the bottom of my hand, the top, you know, whatever you want to do, and just put my hand over them. I first tilt it to make sure that there's no sheen from the water. But if they feel cool as well, and they're not, like this one's bouncing, there's still room. So that means there's still moisture in that paper. But I'm able to put my hand on it and it's okay. For these, we are set to go. Now I'm just going to set these aside because I'm going to focus on that one first, because we're not going to do any more mark making on that one. We are going to do the reveal, but let me just pull this up. You could see what that water did, what that graphite did in there. We've got all of these different movements just by using water. So have fun with it. Watercolors, water, that's really all you need, and a pencil. And you can create these beautiful panels. But let's do the reveal. So let's say, I know this was the last one. When you pull off your painter's tape, you don't want to rip it off like you do a Band-Aid, you know, because who likes to feel a Band-Aid coming off? You want to bend it back on itself and just slowly peel it back. But you want to make sure, and I like to take my finger and like walk it. And then once you know you're off the paper, you can just pull. But look at that cool line that we've got going on there. We've got a rough edge and we've got somewhat of a smooth edge. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Again, take your time with this. Enjoy what you're seeing, what's coming out. And again, I do try to save these, but they curl up on themselves. So I know someone will say, but you're wasting. I know. I'll turn my board so that I can just continue to go slow. And I keep my fingers on the sticky spot. And I just continue to pull it. Go take your time with this. You can see we got that pencil to poke up, but that's okay. And we're going to do our next one. And you can see the cool design that we get by just using our painter's tape. I do like the painter's tape. There's artist tapes that are out there. But you know, it's an expense. And if there's something out there that works just as well and you can have a lot of it, why not? Let's go with that. Just want to make sure that your painter's tape is a low tack tape. Now again, this is not 100% cotton paper either. You have to really take your time when it comes to cotton because it will go up. I am not going to say that doing it this way you will be perfect every time and you won't pull up any paper. I will never say that. It can happen and it's okay. So again, just keep it flat on itself. And again, I just walk it with my fingers and get it off the paper. Let's get that. And here is our panel. That's ready for a card front. And I think it's pretty cool. It's different. You could have it go this way and you can get your sentiment to go in here if you want. And then you've just got these cool blocks that are going on. All right, let's set that aside and we'll build our cards together once we're ready. So this one here, I love the effects too. Again, when you keep some water in there and just get your colors down, they create these beautiful bleeds, whether they're soft or you've got these hard edges. Absolutely love it. But look at your piece and look at these different spots. I love that graphite going all through there, the scribbles. I think that looks cool. But we can do some mark making within our piece to add some interest. So here I have my two different sizes of microns. I have a 03 and a 12. And I have my gold. And I don't think I'm going to use the white on this one. So I'm going to start with the gold with the new. I'm going to start with the black. So I'm just looking at my piece and saying, okay, you know what? And I think I want the larger nib actually. And I'm just going to put some dots. And when you look at the areas, and don't look at the graphite that you have down, go over it. But I'm just going to fill this area here with some dots. But I'm just seeing where that black is, or the pink. And I'm just filling that in. You can just put your dots in the shape. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm also going to put some in here. Just going to come up. See the break. And then for here, I think I'm going to put some in this white spot. Remember, I said white is your friend. You can do all kinds of things in those areas as well. All right. And that, I like that black. I don't want to put too much. I want to fill in the rest with my gold. So I'm going to shake my pen up. And this white spot here, let's make sure, yep. I'm just going to put some lines. And again, I'm just staying in those areas that are open. Do that here. And then I think I want to do that here. We're not looking for perfection. And then I think I want to come down here. Don't think about it. Just have fun. Have fun doodling. Have fun with the items that you're using to add marks. to your piece. And then what I can do, I'm going to add, let's get that primed again. I'm going to add a line, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to go up, and on this line, I'm going to add some pearls, dots, whatever you want to call them. Just have fun. This is a great pen if you wanted to follow that line, make it look like marble. And there we go. Simple, right? We've got a little bit of gold going on there. We've got some black accents. And just by looking at these areas, we're just having some fun. So let's reveal this one. Now these I know on the outside, don't have to take my time. Your tape is just going to curl up on itself. You can, you know, go slow with these. When you get to the edge, I can save that. And I'll tape that off to the side here. So some, yes, if I can save my tape, I will. But some you can't. I want to make sure that I'm getting, I don't want to tear my paper if possible. But you can see this beautiful border that we have now. And it's just by using our tape. So use your resources that you have. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, okay, can I use the Post-it tape? Can I use, you know, masking? You know, you can, but unfortunately that water will soak through if you're using watercolors, and it will get up underneath. You can see I did take a little bit of my paper off there at the top, but it's not noticeable. Again, we're just going to take our time. I'm holding the piece down so that when I get to the edge, it doesn't fly off. And here we have our next piece. All right, that's number 2. Let's look at our coffee brown dyed one. I think for this one, I am going to pull in the white Posca pen. Let's get that primed. And we'll just add some dots in here. Not thinking about it, just looking at these beautiful blocks of colors that we have. And I think I'm going to go around those areas where we added the darker shade, the darker blue, and just come up. And then I'm going to come in with the black. I'm loving these circles. I think I want to add to that. So I'm going to grab my number 12. Just follow along. And then we'll come in with our gold. Let's add some dots. We can add some squiggles. Look at each line when you add something. Make them separate. I like the jagged edge. You could also, if you just have your black fine liner, you could do the same thing with just your black fine liner. You can make them small, you can make them big, all different sizes. Can make them more prominent in the jagginess of the line. And then I think in here, I'm going to do a little bit of Zentangle, but it's a doodle. And I'm going to do what's called print tomps with my gold. And just do some swirls. And then when I come to a white spot, I'm going to stop, using that white as my guide. I'm going around the black as well. Or you can go over it. Just end it. I think I'll put one of those up here. Sorry for that scratching noise, but I want to make sure that we have that. And I want to put something here. So I think I'm actually going to do some lines in this section here. In this gold. Again, just looking at how the paint moved and creating those breaks. You can just have fun with it. There you go. Let's take a look. So now we've got all of those wonderful gold accents. Our sentiment can go right across here. We've got that open space, but a lot of fun just by doodling. Just having fun with doodling. So let's do the reveal. It's like embossing powders, right? You just love to watch it all come together. Tearing off these papers does the same thing for me. Because you don't know what it's truly going to look like until you remove these. Because in some areas, you go to the edge. All right. And you could like it this way. You could like it this way. This way. Possibilities are endless. Okay. Let's pull in the big mama. Yes, let's have some fun with this one. What do you think? I'm going to grab my fine liner, my 03, and I'm going to enjoy these white spots. So I'm going to add some fine lines in those areas. And I think I'm going to add some here. You can make them as close as what you want. You can spread them out, add designs within. You can make them squiggly. They don't have to be straight. You can see mine certainly are not. But you can see we're just defining and mapping out those areas. And then one last one, I think I'm going to come up in here. You can make them go in different directions. That's the beauty of having them on the board, because you can move this board around. If you have chalk pastels, you can pull those in. Again, it is just endless. All right, we're going to pull in our gold again. And I'm going to highlight these circles. Add just touches in there. I'm not worried that is it giving me a solid line? Is it giving me a broken line? Nope, not worried about it. I even went in a different direction. It gave me a loop. For this section here, I'm going to do my lines again, but I'm going to do a crisscross. So I'm going to come down, and I'm going to come up, and I'm going to go up again. Not even worried if my circles are completely filled in. It's not necessary. So we have that section in there. Let's see, I think we are going to add some white, because who doesn't like white dots? Dots are just fun. But again, still following those lines within what the watercolor did, what path it took, and we can define those areas. So we have that one down there. I think I'm going to do this one right here. And bring it up. So we have that, and one more area just right here. And then I think through the green, I'm going to grab my wide, my 12 micron, and just, you see, I'm just scribbling. I think in this bright green spot, it's just making that pop. let's see. I know I want a little bit more gold. Maybe down in here. Let's see, what do I want to do? Let's do some squiggles. That's what I was feeling. And I'm just following the line. This line will change. Just following that. I think the gold adds so much, or if you like silver, you can get one of these pens in silver. I'm thinking we need something maybe in here. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to take the gold pen and just squiggle. I'm just roughly following this line. So it's almost like that crazy script. You can go over it again. Make it a double line. And then I think make it come back down again. I notice how I'm keeping my hand up high. And that way I can see the line. I'm going to go around these lines, highlight them. Again, not focusing on the image, just getting these different shapes down. And I think this one's going to go right up. You can see I'm breaking once in a while, and it's just going to end up there. And there we go. I think this one is done. Let's do the reveal. Now, you could let this big one be what it is, frame it. You have a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. But we are going to cut this up because we can take, and I know probably somebody's saying, okay, that's a lot of work and you're going to cut it. I am. Because it's okay. And what we're going to do, we're going to quarter this. So from one panel, this is like a master board. And for those of you that don't know what a master board is, it's where we take scraps of paper for those 12 by 12s or magazines that we just can't get rid of, and we can collage on top of them with all of our scraps, and we can sew on it, and we can get these beautiful prints, and then when we cut it, we get these beautiful backgrounds. For those of you that know, check out Biddy Penny's channel because she does awesome work with that. So I will make sure the two creators that I've mentioned, they will be linked down below if you want to check them out. But here is this piece. And it is just, and again, no matter which way you turn it, you get a different look, a different feel for the piece. But we are going to cut this. So brace yourselves. I'm going to grab my cutter. This is a 9 by 12. So we are going to just cut this at 6. I know, it hurt. And then we're going to cut it at 4.5. And then we're going to do the same thing again. Now, those of you that know me, I love 5 by 7 cards. I am definitely a 5 by 7 card girl. It's more real estate. Must have real estate. So here are the 4 panels. So if we look and try to put these back together, which you know I'm not going to be able to do, right? Okay, so that one goes there. Just look at your patterns. This one's going to go there. And then this one's going to go here. This is what it looked like when it was together. Now we have this. 4 beautiful pieces. I love this white that's here. Now I do have the deckled edge cutter. I'm going to grab that. You could use this. However, what we can use is a ruler. A ruler will give us a frayed edge. We could take a frayer, a distressing tool, or scissors. I don't like to use scissors because I'm a klutz. If you use scissors, please be careful. Just say. And we could distress those edges. There's also paper tearers out there as well. And that's what I'm going to use. Now, you got to use a lot of pressure, but I'm just going to find a mark on this ruler and I'm going to line it up. And I'm just going to do 2 edges. So we've got this one. And I'm going to show you what each one looks. Your paper will shift. I do not have luck with these. So I'm actually just going to tear it. And I'm using my thumb to guide it. Because to me, this is easier. So that I can keep a general width on it. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. But it will slide with this. This paper is very thick. So it's not as easy as a thinner paper to use a paper edge trimmer to it. If we use the deckled edge, just want to show you what they all look like. I can take this and say, okay, I'm going to take that down 1/4. And then I'm going to turn it. And I'm going to take that down 1/4. That's what that looks like. I do enjoy my deckled edge, but you could also use scissors. There are these fancy cutting scissors. These happen to be by Fiskars. And you can just line it up and use these to cut your piece. And I think these work just fine. Make sure you're in far enough so that it doesn't bend the paper. If you have a deckled edge die, you could use that as well. Or you could leave the edges plain. It's whatever you would like to do when it comes to your piece. This is what this looks like, the distressing tool, and you just take it and you rub back and forth. Now you will get some trimmings here, but I do like this look. And if you really put some force into it, you'll get tears in the paper and all of that. Hence the distressing tool. But when I take a piece like this and I'm quartering it, I like to do just the two sides because the design was in the center. I didn't go completely from edge to edge. So I like to keep, tap your piece, get all these cute little fuzzies, paper fuzzies. No, I don't save those. But you get this neat edge. All right, so these 4 are ready. Never be afraid to cut up your pieces. One of the things that Denise Love says is she could do one of those large pieces and she doesn't like it. It's not saying something to her. This is what she does. She will cut it up and create something else, which I think is magnificent. This one I'm going to keep like that. This one here, I'm going to use my deckled edge for this one. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to line up these edges using my guide. There we go. So now we've got this neat edge. Now you could also cut this right down here and have it be 2 separate spots. Put your sentiment in the center. That would be cool. And this one here, I am going to tear it. I find it therapeutic. I love tearing paper. I really, really do. And I am just going... You can see I'm pulling towards me with my right hand and I'm pushing away from me with my left. And then I'm using my thumb to just guide that. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And just take your time. You don't want to go into your piece, but it can be crooked. That's what gives it its uniqueness. And you do not have to cut your pages. You can just let your edges straight and let them be. I just like this look. And that's the beauty of this craft. It's what we see. It's what we enjoy. And there we go. We have that. So here are our card panels. Look at all of what we have. We left that one alone. And here we have these. We can cut these again in smaller sizes if we want. But from 1 9x12, we've got 4 card panels. It would make a great card gift, card set. And then from the other panel that we cut in quarters, we already have our smaller ones. So when I come back, let's make some cards. And here we go. We are at the end. I like with images like this, I really enjoy using a black mat to set them on. I think it makes the colors pop no matter what colors you use. Of course, these are bright, but these here, this is a lot of neutral colors. If I put this here, it does. It pops out. If I set it onto a white, it still pops, but not as much. So with all of this work that we've done, I like that black mat. Now, since this is watercolor paper and we did use water, there is still some warping in these pieces. I do like to use my favorite 2-inch double-sided film tape. It will flatten the panel out. And believe it or not, I get it from Uline. Now, you can use anything that you have. I do suggest, though, something that's strong. Liquid, double-sided tapes. I don't suggest a tape runner. I like them. No, I hardly use them anymore. But I don't think they're strong enough. So I'm going to keep putting my double-sided tape on the back of these as I discuss this. I just do not think that tape runners have that strength. And I think they fail over time. I have many pieces with this tape and albums when I use this tape, and it's still strong, and I've made them a few years ago. Liquid adhesive is my main go-to for adhesive, and it's a PVA. It can be any PVA glue. You can use Elmer's, absolutely. Just know that Elmer's does have a very high water content. So you're adding moisture back into your panel. And it could cause warping after you set it down onto your mat or your card base. It can also happen with PVA glue as well, but it's also flexible, and you don't need a lot. With any glue that you use, a little really does go a long way. So don't think that you have to put a ton of glue down to make sure your piece sticks. And you'll see what I mean, because I'll use it for the black going onto the card, my 5x7 card bases. When I use a mat, I do use a heavyweight cardstock. I love the Recollections 110 pound from Michaels. I think it's at a great price. And it is really strong. I believe the Craft is 120 pounds. I love their Craft. Now, this one here, I'm not going to put it on this piece because I want to use some foam. So what I do is I take my foam and I put it in there, and then I scooch out just a little bit more, and I'm going to cut that piece. And I'll just measure it up. Yes. And I'm going to put the double-sided tape on the foam. And then I'll stick that down onto my piece. I don't like to use liquid adhesive when I'm using fun foam. I like to use the tape. If I have any pieces that overhang, like I do here, when I pull off the release paper, I just fold it over on itself. This tape is very non-forgiving, meaning once you touch down, it's down. You can't. Now, some say you could use a heater, a heat gun to loosen it up. I have never tried it. So I cannot tell you if that works. And honestly, it's not something that I'm going to try. I'm going to eyeball that, get that down. I want that raised up, and you'll see just the difference when it comes to your piece. Let me remove the staple. I just buy big sheets from my local Michaels. And as that's what I do, I just pull it down a little bit and I lift this back up, and now I'm going to cut around these edges, being careful not to cut my piece. I do save those small pieces because I can use them with sentiments as well. And we're going to do the same thing. Lots of cutting. But then once we have this done, that's it. Let me get that out of my way because glue will be for everything else. All right, now let's get these matted. These are all cut to 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. Since I have a 5 by 7 card base, I'll have a little frame from the card base as well. These we're just going to get right down. Now, I'm not going to add any sentiments. And I'm just going to eyeball this, but I am going to bring it up. And you'll see why. I'm going to press that down. And now we have our panel is flat. All right, next one. How would I like this? Excuse me. We're going to do the same thing, except this time I'm going to come to the bottom. And by using the fun foam, I mean, you could use a double layer too. It looks like these are floating on top. And that's what I love about that look. Now, these panels are just a little bit bigger, and that's okay. We're going to get these centered to a point. So for like this one, I like this one, and I think what I'm going to do, I am going to have a very thin border going along this edge. So just because we met doesn't mean, it doesn't always have to go in the center. So we have that edge, and then we have this down here. So that's how they are going to be set on our black mats. So you can have fun. Now, if you like your pieces directly in the center, by all means, enjoy. I have always been, cattywampus. I like things either going off the edge or running over each other. I just think it adds something different to your piece. That's not for everyone, though. And once I have that corner, that's when I start pushing that down. And again, we can look at how they're sitting once we go to put them on our card base. So I'm lining that up, making sure it's in the corner, and then I'm committing. And you can see I'm rolling it as I go down. And then for our final one is our neutral color. And you can see I'm leaving this area of black, whether it's on the top or the bottom. This one I kind of did put in the center. I could have moved that up just a little bit, but that's okay. All right, so now we're going to look at each one and say, okay, this is how I want that to be set. I'm going to grab my PVA glue. And again, any brand is fine. I do like the, let's see if I can find it. The pH neutral PVA, and I buy big bottles of it. It's very reasonable in price. Matter of fact, I love the price. You want a PVA, not a PVC, because there is also a PVC out there, but you want a PVA. I also use a lot of this when it comes to the journals that I create. And this, and you can see how much glue I'm using. That is plenty. I know my card opens this way, and I want this piece to sit this way. And I'm just going to center that onto my panel. And with liquid glue, you've got this little bit of time for wiggle to get it exactly where you want it. That is card number 1. All right, now this one, I do like that, and I'm going to lay all 4 of these out because I think each one is going to be unique, and I think actually the way they're laying is exactly how I would want them. I do like the way they look. I like this is down here, it's kind of off to the side, it's kind of up. And we've got this space here. So that's how we're going to go with those. And same thing. I always go around the outside. And then I fill in. If you like to use double-sided tape for this, by all means, you can do that. Then use what you have. I switched to a PVA glue because of the journals and the albums that I was making. One glue for me works for everything. I'm sorry for that scratching noise. That's the beauty of recording live. And we just have 2 more after this one. So here I want this up onto the top. And our final one. Okay, I love this one. I just think it looks great with that graphite. I love them all. Okay, now, one of the reasons that I did keep these spaces is you used watercolors, you scribbled, you added marks, you created art. And I feel you all shaking your head. I feel it. I feel the wind. As I'm cleaning up here, I'm feeling the wind. But you did. You created a piece of art. And I believe that when we all do that, and we all create art, we should sign it. So that's what this space down here is for. We can grab our white, or we can grab our gold. And I think I'm going to use, I need a scratch piece of paper. Always shake up these pens. And you want to sign it. Yes. So I'm going to sign my piece. And I like to put the month. So I'm actually doing this in March 25. And there you go. It is signed. And we're going to do that with each piece. See? And all I'm doing, believe it or not, yeah, my handwriting is this bad. Very much so. But we should always do this. You can even come up here and sign your work as well. But you did. You created art. And that is what you need to remember. I'm going to clean off this pen because I have a lot of gold. Oh no. I think it broke. That's going to be so upsetting, but that's okay. Well, find a way to still use that. That's not going to go to waste. But you should always sign your work and enjoy it. Now, these cards are ready. I don't need to put sentiments on them yet. This is a great set to give to somebody, for somebody that loves to send out note cards. In one panel, you create 4 beautiful cards. We have our floater, and we have our other floater where we had fun with our painter's tape, our low-tack painter's tape, to create a design of some sort. And we just use a pencil and water for our marks within each of those boxes. So you don't need all the pens. You could just use this, watercolors, and water, and you'll get these beautiful effects. And then the tape, you'll be able to create that design. I hope you'll give this a try. I find it very relaxing because you're using tools. I find when it comes to the mark making, sometimes you're just using a tool that is just so basic. It's the backside of a brush. Or if you've got the scoring tool, and if you have this, you can use that. To create circles, you could use a piece of towel roll and just save it and cut it up in pieces and make your marks with that. Bubble wrap. Take cardboard and rip it till you get that corrugated look and use that. So many options, so many things that you probably and more than likely already have that you can use to have fun and just have a play with your watercolors. Let them do the work, because they do. They will do the work for you and create beautiful patterns. And then when you see those patterns, just put lines in certain areas with those harsh lines. And that's why I love these harsh lines. You can create a design within this. It is relaxing. Trust me. As I said, I do hope you try this. If not, that's okay too. You can use your dye inks if you don't have watercolors. Just make sure that they are water reactive. Squish them down onto a piece of glass or silicone, and you can use those as watercolors. So don't think that you have to have watercolors. Use those water reactive dye inks as well. So stay tuned for more. More techniques will be coming on how we can create our cards differently with the wonderful medium of paper. Underneath these posts, I am hoping, because here we go, first videos coming up here, I believe you should be able to comment and please ask all your questions down there, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm also hoping that if you do try this technique, please take a picture, and you should be able to upload it. We're going to find out if I did everything right. Yeah, it's always a learning curve, but I hope you post your pictures so that I can be inspired as well. I love to see your creations, and I love to see how you interpret a technique that you are shown. Do you have to only post something doing this technique? Absolutely not. You can post up any paper project. If I see something that's not a paper project, I will remove it. I'm just letting you know. All right, we will be kind in our community, so they will be removed as well, the bad comments. No negativity here. We need to be positive and just be kind with everyone. This area can allow for that, and it will only be allowed. But I hope you'll show me what you're working on. Or maybe you have a question. Hey, have you ever done this? Let me know, and I'm sure you'll see it in a future technique. All right. So guys, please take care. Thank you so much for joining me and our community. I can't wait to see what you create and what comes next. For those of you, if you're curious what's going on into the paid, we are going to step this up just a little bit with lots of other Zentangles specific, not just doodles. We're going to show some Zentangles going through these pieces, and we're even going to show, I'm going to show everyone how to make your own flexible, this is the prototype, your own flexible sketchbook. Now this was done with Canson watercolor, but you can see it lays flat. We can clip it, and we can do small pieces of art in here as well when we need to relax. And in the one that we will create together, in there, we will be using mixed media paper. So any papers can be used for your book, and that is what we are doing in the paid group. Remember, it's just $9.99 a month, and you can cancel at any time. So guys, take care. Continue to stay safe and healthy. And yes, I will always say, enjoy the process. Have fun creating your art from the heart. I hope I've inspired you to maybe try something new, something different. But most of all, always remember, be creative in everything that you do every day. And until the next one, take care.